Let's cross live to Kaduna and speak with Governor Uba Sani. Thank you for joining us, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Now, the aftermath is what we're dealing with now, and while we commiserate with the families of the victims, we need to also ask you, as the Chief Security Officer of your state, what plans have you got to rehabilitate and help start all over again the families of the victims?
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Here in Kaduna, when the unfortunate incident happened, we were very proactive in reacting to the situation. That is the reason why, until this moment, there is calm in Kaduna. The community are very calm. The leaders, both the religious leaders as well as the community leaders, have been extremely very cooperative with the government because we've been very proactive, and immediately the unfortunate incident happened, we quickly responded by ensuring that we evacuated the injured ones and moved them to our hospital, that's Boroduko Hospital in Kaduna. Until that moment, we are the ones looking at their own health. We are paying for the hospital bills. We are taking care of the families. We've also been able to handle the situation in terms of providing relief materials to the victims of the unfortunate incident, those that were living in the communities that were affected, and even those that were not affected, but some members of their families also were displaced because of the unfortunate incident. We decided to also distribute relief materials to all of them. That is the reason why, and we have been engaging the community leaders and religious leaders. We have been meetings with them. That is the reason why there is some level of calmness and peace. But I'm happy because when the incident happened, I called on the federal government to initiate investigation and probe into the incident. And I'm also thankful to Mr. President and the Vice President for responding positively to our call, because Mr. President quickly initiated the investigation. And of course, today the Vice President, alongside some high-level delegation, came to Kaduna to visit those in the hospitals. I took him around, and we also met the community leaders and religious leaders in the government house here in Kaduna, the Sakashim Ibrahim House. And of course, I'm also happy because I insisted at the beginning that apart from the investigation, I also call on the federal government to also pay compensation to the families of those that were affected. And Mr. President sent a very strong message through the Vice President today to assure us that the federal government will pay compensation to the family. Apart from paying compensation, they will rebuild the entire community because in the last few months, the federal government have been planning to initiate Black Hole program where those that were displaced in some states, which Kaduna is one of the states earmarked, that the program will start in the next 2 months. But because of this incident, Mr. President directed that the program should start in Kaduna, and the Tudimbiri community should be the first community to benefit in the whole of the country. So in the next few weeks, by the grace of God, the federal government will start rebuilding the houses for them.
Right, Mr. Governor, I mean, you've addressed quite a lot in your response there. First off, let's get a clear figure, if you have any, of the casualty figures and, of course, those who've been injured and maybe out of hospital. Do you have a clear figure as to the casualty levels? And this non-kinetic approach that's been introduced, how ready is Kaduna State to take that approach? What and what do you have in place in terms of strategy?
And of course, we in Kaduna State will be leading in the strategy to adopt a non-kinetic approach. If you could recall, in the last 3 months, we've been sitting with the Chief of Defense Staff. Even before this incident, we have been working closely on how we can address the issue. I've been talking to the National Security Advisor, who is also working closely with Kaduna State government. So that is what we've been doing. But on this issue in particular, what I can say here is that the number of casualties, those in the hospital, because today we visited the Borodico Hospital, and we visited those that were injured. We lost one of them yesterday. Out of about 76, they were in Borodico Hospital, and some of them are now in 44 hospital in Kaduna. The number put together about 76. One person died yesterday. Then the number of casualties as of yesterday, when I sat down, when I called the community today, I also sat down with them when they came. There's the community leaders, religious leaders that are working closely with the families. The numbers they gave us today is about 86, thereabout. So that is what is authentic. And those in the hospital as of today are now 75 instead of 76 because we lost one person. So that is what is happening at the moment. But like I said, all the 75 people in the hospital were looking after their health care and making sure that we pay their bills. And the sad aspect of it is that when I went there with the Vice President today, we have children, about 11 of them that have lost their father and mother. So they are orphans now. And Kaduna State government has offered, under my leadership, to make sure that we look after them and we take care of them, while we are also pressing on the federal government to pay full compensation to the families of those that were affected, those that lost their lives and those that are injured. As you are aware, the President, Mr. President, have assured me, and the Vice President also, that compensation will be paid. And the reason why we're doing that is simply because we believe that maybe if the federal government have taken a very serious step in handling this issue and come up with a very thorough investigation, and at the end of the day, those that were affected or those that are responsible for this thing are being punished, maybe this thing will not happen in Nigeria again. So that's the reason why here in Kaduna we're very serious.
No, just before you come in. Now, Mr. Governor, it's important to also note that the President has ordered an investigation into the incident. That's okay. But then I'm even more concerned about how the compensation will really get to the people, because often when things like this happen in Nigeria and governments promise compensations and all that, sometimes there are middlemen that don't really let these aid materials get to the people that need them. So what strategy have you got in place to ensure that, especially those children who are orphans now, get the released aids once they start coming from the federal government and, of course, from your state government?
Okay, the reason why the federal government is doing what they are doing, like I said, because we've been proactive. When I'm speaking with you in terms of numbers and those involved, to tell you that as a governor, I am relating with the families. I can tell you a family that have lost 3 persons, the family that have lost 8 persons, the children, so I am dealing with them directly. I don't have any middleman. The only people I'm talking to are the families. There's one family, when I went to the hospital today, that, like I said, the father and the mother were killed, and they had about 5 young children, which, like I said, the Kaduna State government have now decided to look after the children. We have their own next of kin, and we are going to work closely with them. We are not going to have any third party. The community leaders are people that are directly involved, not people that are not directly involved in the incident. So that's why I told you earlier that we have 86 people that died, 76 people in the hospital, 1 person died, to tell you that the government is working closely with them. That is why until this moment, you have not had any major problem, because the people have belief in us, they have confidence in the government, and they know that we are going to follow up this issue. That's why today the federal government, through the Vice President, announced that they will pay compensation because of the way we are handling the situation. We do not work for the federal government. Like I said, as a state government, we have responsibility to protect the lives and properties of our citizens. It's our responsibility. But because the incident happened, because of some unfortunate incident when the army in particular, because when something happened, like I said, I reached out to the Chief of Defense Staff, I reached out to the Chief of the Air Staff, I reached out to the Chief of the Army Staff, but I realized that the problem is from the Nigerian Army, from any other person. And I approached them and I talked to them. I'm happy they took responsibility immediately when I reached out to them. But I was not really, I didn't stop at that. I reached out to Mr. President, and Mr. President, knowing who he is, responded quickly to my call. And I have no doubt in my mind, I will continue to follow this thing until justice is done.
No doubt. Two issues I'd like you to quickly address before we round up in 2 minutes, Mr. Governor. The non-kinetic approach, I asked you the question earlier as to how exactly Kaduna State will approach the non-kinetic, method in, addressing the terrorists. And then on the other hand, there's this political reading to this last bombing. I mean, some are saying it has political undertones, considering the fact that the Chief of Defense Staff, Chris Musa, actually comes from the particular area where the bombing happened.
So let me start with the second question, because for me it's really worrisome. Today in Kaduna, for your own information, when we called the meeting with the traditional rulers and religious leaders, you will be surprised to know that those that were at the meeting are the leadership of Jamaatul Nasr Islam and the Khan leadership. And all of them spoke together. In Kaduna State, under my leadership, we don't believe in any religious differences. We are one. What I'm going to emphasize here, the Khan President, Reverend Hayab, and also the Jamaatul Nasr Islam, Professor Shafiu, they spoke together. And today, a lot of reverends and pastors, as well as imams, attended the meeting with the Vice President. They were the people that were there, and they spoke together. We don't have any difference. Those that are talking about political dimension to this issue are people that don't want peace. They are religious by bigots who believe in crisis, who benefit when they talk about religious differences in Kaduna. Like I said, we don't believe in any religious or ethnic differences. Under my leadership, both Muslim and Christians will continue to live together in harmony and in peace. That is why today can emphasize that they are now worried about what happened, and they see this thing. And let me just emphasize one thing. We had 3 Christians that died in this incident, for your own information. And for me, every life matters in Kaduna. So we don't believe in any permutation, or all those people talking about, for me, are people that believes in this creating differences, causing religious problems in our state, and enough is enough. In Kaduna, there will never be any religious crisis again by the grace of God. Again, the issue of non-kinetic approach. Like I said, we are leading on that. Today, as I'm speaking with you, there are 2 committees set up by the National Security Advisor. We are talking with our religious and traditional leaders in Binangwari, in Zangwan Katap, in Kaura, in Igabi, where we're looking at how do we approach this issue. But you see, because I'm not like other politicians that like politicizing the issue of security or insecurity, because we don't do that. We talk closely with the security heads, and we are talking with them. I will not come here and tell you our entire strategy, but we are working and talking closely on that. Even in Binangwari, only 3 days ago, a high-powered delegation under the leadership of the Senate Chairman Committee on National Security, the committee was set up by the NSA, and we are working. But it's not something for me to come to national television and disclose to you what we are doing. It's highly sensitive. As a politician, I don't think we should continue to do that. No. We don't politicize the issue of insecurity in our state.
Well, good assurances from there, Mr. Governor. One last question just before we let you go. Why should the people trust the government this time around that those compensations promised will get to them after what happened in places like Nasarawa, Borno in the past? So why should they trust the government this time?
Because we are In our own case, we put the people in front of what we're doing. The people matters to us. We don't really allow politicians to take the lead. We work closely with religious leaders and the community leaders. When you politicize this issue of compensation, you will not get it right. You have to get people that are trusted within the community, religious leaders that are really trusted. You hand over this thing to them and reach out to the families directly. If you do that, you will not make mistakes. But if you bring politicians into this issue, you will never get the solution to the problem, and you will never get it right. That is the answer to that question.
A fantastic place to leave it tonight. Thank you so much, Governor of Kaduna State, Uba Sani. Thank you for joining us on Newsnight tonight.